through our shared Imagine More, its Central to Pella initiative, in which Pella Corporation plays a key leadership role. Our local community means the world to us, and we are forever grateful. This evening, on behalf of the Central College community and our historic partnership with Pella Corporation, we are deeply honored to welcome our special guest, the all-time winningest coach for the University of Iowa women's basketball program, serving 24 years as head coach, Lisa Bluder. Coach Bluder is joined this evening by her devoted husband and author, Dave Bluder. Welcome both of you to the Pella community. And we extend a very warm welcome back to campus to an alum of the class of 1973, a member of the Board of Trustees and executive in residence, our very own Professor Harry Smith. We are also honored to have with us this evening the former U.S. Ambassador to China and Governor of Iowa, serving for 22 years in that role, the Honorable Terry Branstad, and his wife of 53 years this June, the former and longest serving First Lady. We're also pleased to welcome Pella's mayor, Central's former football defensive coordinator and local business leader, and a member of the class of 1982, Don Ward. Welcome. I'm joined this evening by one of our trustees, Mike Van Voorst, class of 1993, who's with me on stage. Mike is the Vice President and Financial Controller of Pella Corporation. Central College is blessed to have a multi-generational partnership with Pella Corporation and its family of shareholders. Through decades of scholarships, internships, and employment opportunities, and particularly tonight, as the Pella Corporation's Roll Screen Foundation is sponsoring this wonderful event, we have all been enriched by the generosity and community spirit Pella Corporation has engendered through its now century of existence. We would like to recognize the many Pella Corporation executives in the audience. Thank you, Pella Corporation. Your success has been a blessing to all in Pella and many communities beyond. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming Mike Van Voorst to offer words of greeting on behalf of Pella Corporation. Mike.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone here tonight. You don't want to listen to me, so I'm going to make this very quick and get this going. But as Mark mentioned, my name is Mike Van Voorst. I'm Vice President and Financial Controller for Pella Corporation, and I'm also privileged to sit on Central College's Board of Trustees. It's great to see a full house here tonight, for sure. Pella Corporation and Central College have shared a strong partnership since Pella's inception. And we recognize the value of the college and its students and what they bring to our community, and especially to our company. This year, Pella Corporation celebrates its 100th anniversary, a milestone achieved by less than 1% of all corporations. At the core of our success is our people. As a Central College alum, I've experienced firsthand what a Central education can do for an individual. Many of my fellow alumni have also contributed to Pella Corporation's century-long journey, and we look forward to continued support and future Central graduates coming our way. Tonight exemplifies Pella Corporation's ongoing partnership with Central. We're thrilled to collaborate with Mr. Harry Smith and Central College to welcome Coach Lisa Bluder to Pella. Coach Bluder's leadership has been instrumental in building championship-winning teams and individuals, inspiring excellence both on and off the court. At Pella Corporation, one of our cultural pillars is continuous learning. I don't know about you all, but I'm excited to learn from Coach Bluder's experiences here tonight. Our goal with this speaker series is to bring together the community and the college to foster growth, connection, and integration amongst all of us here in the community. We hope this event is the first of many, and what a better way to start than with Coach Bluder.
And now please welcome our host for this evening's program, the recent recipient of the Edward R. Murrow Lifetime Achievement Award in Journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Smith.
I like this a lot. Everybody having a good night so far? All right. So Lisa Bluder, you know, names come and go. We kind of like, oh, who's she exactly? If we're just going to turn down the lights for a couple of minutes, and for those of you who need your memories refreshed, take a look at this person we know as Coach Lisa Bluder.
You know, it was amazing to get this job because I actually applied for it in 1995 and did not get the job. So in 2000, when I got the job, never a great timing, right? I'm 9 months pregnant with Emma. And, you know, coming in here to Carver, having our press conference and thinking how excited I was just to have this opportunity so close to my parents, but also just the job you dream of, right? I mean, having that become a reality, the job that you've dreamed about.
Lisa's such a great coach and great leader because she's just so real. She has just this rare authenticity about her. I think in this day and age, sometimes that authenticity is so hard to find. And along with that authenticity is she has just a beautiful, humble spirit.
Just a super fiery, passionate coach, but cares about her players so deeply. She treats us like her own kids, and something super special to have is that balance of being able to hold all of your players accountable and be fiery and get on them, but also love them up, and she's perfected that balance.
The best part about her is that she cared more about you as a person than as a player. No matter how big or small your role was on the team, everybody mattered, and it was so important to our success.
She pushed me to be even better every single day, whether that was as a person, whether that was as a leader, whether that was as a basketball player, and that's something I'm very, very grateful for.
You know, my son said to me, "Mom, you're only 11 wins away from 900. You can't retire." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can," because for the rest of my life, I'm going to get to see those women go on and do great things. What gets me excited is seeing Jan Jensen be the head coach here. It gets me excited to see Jenny Branchak being head coach at Oklahoma. To see McKenna Warnock get her white coat this upcoming August. Those are the things that are really meaningful to me.
Lisa Bluder heading to her first Final Four.
Lisa is the same person I met back in 1990. You know, she always keeps at the core everybody else because of the impact that she can have on all of her women.
Sharing in the good times and getting through the bad times with people you really care about, you love, that know, you know, we got each other's back through all this, but that's really made it special.
In this world, there are just so many different ways to win. The way Lisa has always won has always been with a high level of integrity. I think that's one of the greatest lessons that she instills.
She really, truly believes that we can go out there and accomplish anything we put our minds to. She was really great at saying, you know, don't take anything for granted. Be here, be in this moment, put 100% effort into everything you do. That's delivered everything she was done. She built up strong female leaders here, and I know that I'm going to be successful because everything I went through at Iowa, all the support that I have around me, and I will continue to have through her for the rest of my life. I feel super grateful for her.
I think it just really summarizes how much you care about us, not for 4 years, but for the rest of our lives. And, you know, Coach Bluder coached for 25 plus years, and this is a moment that she always deserved in her career, is kept playing in front of sold out crowds, and it's always something she fought for, and she knew one day would finally come around. So for everybody that's been a part of her journey, to see her, you know, enjoy that, and her impact is going to last far beyond her standing on the sideline. Her legacy will be greater than that.
But I haven't had time to fully kind of embrace what all took place. I'm fully grateful about the fan support. I'm fully grateful about the administration support that we had and doing some of the things that we did.
Nowhere in the country could this happen except for at the University of Iowa.
I do know that we moved basketball. I do believe we grew this sport, and that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud about, is that our team was a part of moving the needle and the enthusiasm for women's athletics. I don't know if I fully comprehend how much. In 1983, this building was built, and I played in the first game. I was playing for UNI. I scored the first basket in this building.
The first half was tied all the way. UNI gets the first two. He said yes, but he gets from the corner.
So that's really just like full circle. Like it was meant to be, right? Like it was meant to be that I'd be the coach here for 24 years, and just so thankful, that I got to open this building, and now, 4 years later, to walk out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Bluder.
You'll have tears. See the hat? You see the number on the hat? What's the number on the hat?
55,646, but if you would have been there, it would have been 47.
That's right. I missed the boat on that deal. We have a lot to talk about. We've got an excited group of people here who really want to hear about you. And before I go back to the early days, to the 6-on-6 and Marion and stuff, I want to talk a little bit about the tournament, because that was just a week ago, right? Can we talk about the University of Connecticut and what that looked like?
Yeah, they were
from your perspective?
They were a machine.
Yeah.
They just rolled through it. I don't know if anybody's watched the games. It was amazing. They played so well, and I like to remind everybody my last win came against Gino Ariama.
So you were not born in Iowa. Did I get that part right?
That's correct. I was born in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Right.
5 years old, we moved to Marion, Iowa.
There you go. Were you in town or on the farm?
Oh, town.
You're town folks.
Yeah,
Town folks.
town.
How many sips?
I'm in the middle of 5.
Middle of 5.
Yeah.
And do you remember first having a basketball in your hand?
I do. First of all, my dad, I have 2 older brothers, and my dad went out and bought a basketball hoop, put it up in the back of the yard for us, for my brothers to use. My brothers could care less. I wore that thing out. I made him take down hedges so I could shoot from farther out, and so I definitely remember having the basketball in my hand.
Wow. Did you go to games as a kid? Did you go see your high school's 6-on-6?
Yes, absolutely. I went to Linn-Mar High School, and we went to the Linn-Mar games and watched those, just looked up to those women.
Right. You dreamt, I said, I'm going to do that one day.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You get to high school, when did you think, I'm pretty good at this?
I was never the greatest player by any means. I was a good player.
Right.
I wasn't a great player. But I loved it so much, and so I think, I tried to pursue to go on to play college basketball because, why wouldn't you want to? It looked like a lot of fun.
So no one was knocking on your door?
I mean, a few people, but not many.
Right.
I wanted to come to Central.
Hello. Hello, headline news. If only. Well, anyway, it's all turned out all right for you. So we have a guy who works here at Central named Larry Apple. He's been here forever. He really knows more about sports than any human being alive.
Wow.
He claims that even in 6-on-6, you actually fouled out of a game.
Oh, yeah, well,
In 6 and 6, it's about impossible.
And you get 6 fouls too. You got 6 fouls, and you're only playing for half the time, and you're on offense the whole time. So I don't know how that happened, but it did.
There you go. You get to UNI, then you try out for the team.
Yeah.
And was it then that you said, I'm a player, I can play this game?
Yeah, back then, there wasn't AAU basketball and all the things that people are doing now in order to get recruited. And so when I was a senior in high school, I traveled on a Greyhound bus with my basketball in my hand and went up to Cedar Falls and tried out. And there were hundreds of girls there trying out.
Serious.
And they did things like, we did the mile run, and we did the, how high can you jump, and free throws, and that sort of thing. And then we scrimmaged, and I played 6 on 6. I didn't know we were doing playing 5 on 5. So it was a very strange thing. But from that, I got a scholarship to go to UNI.
Phenomenal. But was it a full scholarship?
Oh no. Back then, in 72, Title IX came in effect, and so then they started giving women scholarships. And I graduated from high school in 79. I got a half a scholarship to play basketball at the University of Northern Iowa. Now, a half a scholarship may sound like a lot. My check for the whole year was $1,100. That's how much it cost to go to school at UNI at the time.
Just for one more second on the 6 and 6, I have some experience from 6 and 6 basketball. There was a famous, or maybe infamous veterinarian who lived in Pella named Doc Crawford. And when KNIA was a daytime radio station, Doc Crawford and I would travel in his pickup truck to cover girls' high school basketball games.
Wow.
To New Sharon, Montezuma.
They had some good teams back then.
Back in the day.
They did.
And this little radio station was only on during the daytime. So we would broadcast the games into a woolen sack, reel-to-reel tape recorder. We each had a microphone. I wrote the commercials for D&D Pump and Pipe, which is still in business, by the way.
1%.
Exactly. And then they would replay the games the next afternoon on the radio. So
Wow.
that
So
was,
you know about 6 on 6 then?
well, it had to be explained to me. And, there's some really great archival material that Lisa is part of, and a great conversation that happened at the University of Iowa, women talking about 6 on 6. I highly recommend it to anybody who is really interested in the roots of basketball in Iowa, which go back well more than 100 years. Women were playing sports in Iowa way before they were playing sports anyplace else. And that deserves a round of applause. You graduate, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Was basketball ever like, maybe I wish I could have?
Yeah, I wanted to continue playing, but I didn't really know that there was opportunities. When I graduated from high school, I was going to be a gym teacher, a PE teacher, and everybody that was a teacher at that point said, don't do it. You're never going to get a job because there's too many of us out here. You're never going to find a job. So I switched to business accounting at UNI, and then I went to my first semester of accounting, and in 2 weeks they covered my entire high school. And then I looked in the library, and all these accounting majors were there studying all the time, and I wanted to be in the basketball arena. So I did
dropped accounting?
I did. I dropped accounting. It was So I was a business major with an art minor.
Did you go look for? Did you think I'm going to coach? Was that on your mind?
Until my senior year. In my senior year, when they brought in a graduate assistant to our program, and I thought, oh, that's something I could do. Become a graduate assistant, get my schooling paid for, get my master's, and stay involved in this game. But it didn't turn out that way. I actually got a job in advertising and did that for a year. And then my husband-to-be was living in the Quad Cities. And he asked me to marry him, and I was going to move to the Quad Cities. So I thought, well, I'll write to Marycrest, St. Ambrose, and Augustana, and see if I can get this GA position. And I didn't hear a word.
Serious?
No rejection letter even came across me. I would have been happy with that.
Right.
Nothing. And then that same year in August, the coach at St. Ambrose was upset about something and he left. Here it is August. They have no coach. We're getting married in September. And so it was a classified ad in the Quad City Times that David found, and he called me up and said, Lisa, they're looking for a basketball coach. I'm like, I couldn't even be the GA, but I applied for it, got the position, and
Wow.
that's how I started my career.
Did you get rich?
Oh my. I went home from the interview and I said, Dave, I got good news and bad news. The good news is they offered me the job. The bad news is it pays $2,400 a year. But I had really good negotiation skills. I got them up to $2,500.
Impressive. When you decide to become a coach, right? Oftentimes there's someone you've played for who is that person who you say, I want to be the next Ron Skipper. I want to, whoever that person might be. Did you have that sort of beacon coach in your life ever?
I did in high school. I had a really good high school coach. Her name is Sue Kuderna. She played at William Penn College, and she was one of the top 10 players in America when she graduated in 1976. So she was somebody I really looked up to, and she was the one that told me, hey, you can do this basketball thing. But when I was in college, my coaches weren't very good, and I honestly knew how I didn't want to be by watching my college coaches.
Right. So when you get to St. Ambrose, you at least have a philosophy of sorts? Did you have any idea what you were doing?
No. I really didn't. But, I'd been a college athlete, and so I knew, the structure of practices. And I just went around and talked to a lot of coaches. I went to a lot of clinics, read a lot of books. I snuck into Vivian Stringer's practices at Iowa. I went up to Eldon Miller's practices at UNI. He was the men's coach up there. And so I did things like that, and that's how I learned. It was really on-the-job training.
But a couple of years in, you're in the NIA tournament. You make the Final Four in the NIA, 4 years after you started at St. Ambrose?
Yeah, it was year 5 and 6, yeah. Year 5 and 6.
Years 5 and 6, not years 4. I stand corrected. But still, sometimes we do things in our lives and you say, I was meant, this really feels right to me. Did you have that feeling already then?
I really did. I felt like it, after the first year I was having fun, and we really, it's going to be a one-year thing because, $2,400 a year, you really can't live on that. So it was going to be a one-year thing, and I really enjoyed it. It felt right, and so, I just kept going.
Drake knocks on the door, or do you chase down Drake?
Well, I was just the National Coach of the Year, so I interviewed at Marquette, and I was going to interview at Drake, and I go to Knoxville, Tennessee to the Final Four, and the woman behind me, there's 20,000 people in this arena, the woman behind me is chairing the search for Drake University. She was the chairperson. And I get the tap on the shoulder and say, hey, aren't you that Lisa Bluder? And I said, yeah. So I went and interviewed at Drake University, and very thankful that I got to have that opportunity.
And once again, it takes so long for you to have any success there. Crazy. How many tournament appearances, either the tournament or at WNIT?
Yeah.
You kicked serious butt there.
Iowa has good girls basketball players, and so I was able to recruit some remarkable young women. In fact, I talked to Coach Blair there. One of his players, Tammy Blackstone, was one of my favorite players of all time. I hate to say that, but she is an amazing player, and got her from Cherokee, Iowa. So they were amazing.
So you're at Drake,
Yeah.
but you're also in this place, Iowa State's right up the road. If you're a little longer in the car as Iowa City, were you able to nab some young women that, were you not there, they would have gone to either of those two schools?
I'd like to think so. Vivian Stringer wasn't really, she didn't understand the 6-on-6 girl or didn't really recruit the Iowa athlete that much. So that helped me, I think, to get the best girls in the state. But, we had a lot of really good Iowa girls.
Yeah. So let's go back to, you applied for the Iowa job and didn't get the job? What's that story all about?
Well, in 1995, we had come off a great year. We were in the NCAA tournament at Drake. We beat Mississippi in the first round, almost got to the Sweet 16. We lost at George Washington. So I thought, well, the job came open at Iowa, and I thought for sure I was the right candidate for this job.
How could you not?
We had just beaten them. We'd beaten them the last 3 years, and we were the state champs. We'd beaten Iowa State that year, and I figured, I was the natural. So I went and I applied for the job. I interviewed. I was there a couple of days. I get back, and nope, I didn't get the job. I did not get the job. They gave the job to the current assistant coach, Angie Lee, and I was disappointed, really, really disappointed, but honestly, it was the right thing because I went back to Drake for 5 more years, got to coach Tammy Blackstone, had really some good success. I became a better coach. I think, just through time, you become a better coach. And so then in 2000, when it came open again, I thought, I'm going to try again. And I think that's a good lesson of don't let your ego get in the way, right? Because, a lot of people would say, no, they didn't hire me last time, I'm not going there.
Screw them.
Yeah. And it's,
I know you a little bit. But this is really important. And I tried to talk about this in the class that I teach here. And I'm coming back to teach again. And I can't go on television to announce it, so pass the word. These things that happen, so you're a career professional, right? You have everything on your CV that you need. You've beaten the Iowa team, you've beaten the Iowa State team, you're the best in the state.
Yeah.
And you go to apply for the job that you should get.
Yeah.
If they had any brains, they should have given. No, I'm serious. Because from your perspective, what more do I need to get this? And they say no. What is it about you, or what is it about that experience that happens in all of our lives that you said, I'll just go back to work, and what?
I think I do have a gift of being persistent. I can bounce back after failure pretty well. My husband might not agree with me, but I do. The first couple hours after a loss are rough, but then I really am pretty resilient, and then I can come back and keep working at it. Plus, I loved it. I loved what I was doing, so I wasn't going to, step away from it for that. But in 2000, I was very pregnant, as you could see, and I did not go on campus for an interview. So there wasn't Zoom back then, so I did phone interviews with the selection committee. And I did the phone interview, and I went home and I talked to Dave. I said, I don't think I did a very good job. And this is in 2000, okay? I said, I was too Midwest humble. I was too humble, and I really didn't tout what I needed to do.
Because you're making the big jump to the Big Ten, and you're just, aw shucks.
Yes, that's exactly it. So I got on the phone the next day with Dr. Grant, our athletic director, and I called her up and I said, Dr. Grant, I don't think I did a very good job on my interview, my phone interview. And I said, I think I could do a lot better job. And she was Scottish. She said, no, Lisa, you didn't do a very good job. So I proceeded to tell her all the reasons why she should hire me.
Yeah.
And I got the job.
Wow. How lucky has Iowa been for that phone call?
Just staying persistent, again, I think that's really important. And, I realized I didn't do a very good job. And instead of just letting it sit, trying to change the situation.
100 life lessons already in this few minutes that we've spent together. No, really, seriously. All right, it takes you another 10 minutes to start winning, have 20 game winning seasons, and et cetera, et cetera. Here, okay, this is in this process. So you have the success at Drake where you're really recruiting. You start to have success again at the University of Iowa. When you're sitting at the kitchen table with the parents and a prospective player, what did you tell them?
Well, I mean, this is pretty brief. Well, I don't know if I want to talk about Caitlin yet. Let's,
Hang on.
yeah.
We weren't going to talk about her at all tonight. As long as you brought it up, I thought, well, let's just, if it comes up.
You know, I really thought that I could, my goal was to teach more than just basketball. My mission statement was through the sport of basketball to create the next generation of female leaders. That's what I wanted to do. And
Did you have that written down someplace?
I'm sure it's down. Yeah, I have it written down. Yeah.
That's so good. Say it again.
Through the sport of women's basketball to create the next generation of female leaders. Because there's so much that can be done. There's really so much to be learned from playing athletics and being a part of a team that has a good culture. I think it sets our women up for life. I think it teaches them time management and how to bounce back from failure and discipline and teamwork and I mean, on and on. There's so many life lessons that they learn. So to me, it's more than just basketball. And I think it always was. I maybe wasn't able to say that 20 years ago as well as I can say it now, but I mean, I know that now. I know that was what drove me.
Yeah. Let me put this, you're back at the kitchen table.
Okay.
And you're talking to this young woman and her parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's talent, and then there's character.
Yeah.
Which one is stronger for you?
Oh, they're both so close, but to me it's character. And the reason why I really believed in having a great culture on our team. That was so important to me. And I had so many great basketball players that would come into my office, and I could tell when I told them, like things like I just told you, like this is a family and I really want us to love each other and I want you to do right. You're going to go to class, you know, you're going to be doing community service. You're going to be a part of something. You're not the star maybe, but you're going to be a part of something great. If they were shaking their heads and not into it, I knew that they weren't a player for me. So even though they had the most talent, I was definitely looking for character. But if I could get both, I'm taking it.
Absolutely. It's such an interesting thing because especially the way sports are now, with club sports, with AAU, you've got kids playing travel sports who are 9 years old. I got off a plane in Phoenix 5 years ago, and I saw more hockey bags than I'd ever seen in my life. And these people traveling from all over the country with money they, oh, by the way, they don't have. Right? What is that doing to our sports culture?
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a big proponent of youth sports. It's that age. To me, you should just be playing in the backyard. You know, and I don't think everything's organized now. Kids don't have to figure out who's on what's team or call their own fouls or get in arguments and figure it out themselves. They just don't do that anymore because, you know, the older people are organizing everything for them. And like, this is amazing. Yesterday, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to Atlanta Hawks game, and I got the opportunity to spend some time with Kyle Korver, who is a Pella, right? And we talked about this exact same thing, and he told me how when he was a kid in Pella, he would ride his bike over here to the arena, to the gym.
Kuiper, the gymnasium.
Shoot basketball as much as he could, ride home for dinner, ride his bike back and play against the older guys. And that's what he did. He didn't have youth sports like that, you know, and I just think that until you get to be like, you know, at least like 13, 14, you know, organized sports doesn't have a place. I really just don't think that. And I also believe in multi-sport athletes. Like now we have to all specialize. And we have to decide we're going to be a volleyball player, we're going to be a basketball player at a very early age. And I love the multi-sport athletes. I think they're just better rounded.
The more coaches you talk to say exactly the same thing, right? Although I'll say this, my younger son was, when we made a basketball visit to Holy Cross. and they're talking blah, 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 back and forth. And the coach turns to me and says, well, how long has Grady, that's my son's name, how long has he been playing AAU? I said 2 years. And he looks at me like, no. You're way too late. You missed the boat and forget about it. He ended up playing lacrosse and having a great time in college. But that whole, there's so much emphasis on that, is that how do you stay smart enough? Because your kid, if his pals are playing, or if her pals are playing, they all want to go, with it, they went so-and-so, they went on the trip and blah, blah, blah. It takes some spine to tell them, go in the backyard and put up 1,000 shots and maybe we'll talk.
Well, they need to be doing that.
Yeah.
But it's hard because now it can't be one person, right? I mean, it's got to be a group of people, I think, that have to realize that this is not good for our kids. And it's a lot of money. And people are spending a lot of money on youth sports that they don't need to be spending it on.
And because the number of kids who are actually going to get that D1 scholarship?
So few.
So few. All right, let's go back to this thing that you did at the University of Iowa. That's a joke. There's a moment pre-Caitlin Clark. Your team is really, really good. Megan Gustafson.
Yep. Yeah.
Best player in the country.
Right.
Right.
Naismith National Player of the Year.
Yeah. And were you not Naismith Coach of the Year right around then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's happening.
Yeah.
You're meeting with Caitlin Clark. You're on each other's radar.
Right.
Do you think that was helpful to you in landing her?
No doubt it was. I really believe it was because she could see that we produced the National Player of the Year. And we got to the Elite Eight that year. We were one game away from the Final Four. We lost to Baylor when Kim Mulkey was the coach there as well.
What a character. What a character.
So, and we lost to Baylor. I flew home that next day to Des Moines and went and met the next day with Caitlin Clark and said, listen, we were one game away from the Final Four, and we had a National Player of the Year. You can do these things for us. And she bought into that, for sure.
Yeah. Through high school, when did you first meet her?
Caitlin was about 7th grade when I met her. She was young. Her parents, though, really protected her from the recruiting process. She came to campus when she was in 9th grade and didn't come back until 11th grade. And they hid all the letters and everything from her. They didn't let her see them. They didn't want her to be like big-headed or anything.
You know, her father played baseball and basketball at Simpson.
Simpson, yeah.
I don't know.
His daughter made a good choice.
I mean, that's just, I never, how could that possibly be? So you see her in 7th grade. This wooing starts when she's in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Was there a point at which you thought she's never coming here?
Oh yeah, because she told me she wasn't. I mean, I was recruiting Caitlin, and I felt so good about our chances of getting her senior year. And she was kind of late in the recruiting process. Now kids are making up their minds much earlier, but this was her senior year. And I can remember exactly where I was in my office, picked up the phone, Caitlin was on the phone, I was feeling great about it, and she said, well, Coach, I've decided I'm going to go to Notre Dame. And she went to Des Moines Dowling, good Catholic school, and so that's where she was going to go. I just couldn't believe it, because I had such a good relationship with her. And she never posted it. She never, that's what they do now.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever they eat for breakfast.
You all did that. You all did that. Yeah.
She never posted it. And, it kind of was weird, because kids are so anxious to post where they're going. And weeks went by, and suddenly her AAU coach called me and said, hey, I think Caitlin's having second thoughts about going to Notre Dame. Would you still have a place for her? Yeah?
That's a funny question. That's a funny question.
Yeah.
So
So
let me think about it for a minute. Fantastic.
my husband and I were out having dinner. I can remember exactly, where we were, what table we were sitting at, and the phone rang. It was Caitlin. I said, "I gotta go outside and take this, Dave." And so I went out into the outside the restaurant, and she said, "Coach, do you still have a spot? Would you still like me to come to Iowa?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Okay.
So then I went in and ordered a bottle of champagne.
Thanks for not leaving out the punchline. That was good. We watched her play. We watched your interaction with her on the games that we saw. Extraordinary EQ, extraordinary IQ, basketball intelligence, like coming out of her pores. Passes we haven't seen since Larry Bird kind of stuff. It was really easy to fall in love with her as a player.
Yeah.
How easy was it to fall in love with her as a player?
Well, as a player, and what she could do on the floor, it was very easy, but there was some growing pains. I mean, her freshman year, she did not know how to play alongside of people. She was the person before. And now she had to learn how to bring her teammates along. And so there was many things that we had to work on, body language and how to make your teammates better and how leadership. She wasn't a very good leader as a freshman. We worked really, really hard on how to be a better leader. And she became that. She worked hard at it and she became it. And she really excelled in all the areas because she wanted to be the best. That's the thing about Caitlin is she wants to be the very best.
How was she at taking criticism?
She could take it. She would absolutely come in and watch film with me because she wanted to be better. Like, I was up to the last day of our practices and we are still trying to make her better. That's the way she is.
As a person, as a leader, when you have a person who is so extraordinarily talented that has to become a team player, there's so much buy-in about this. So Caitlin says, "I'm buying in," but you've got another 11 people in that room, let alone assistant coaches and everybody else, to say, "No, we all believe in this mission." How difficult is getting all those folks on the same page?
Well, she believed it right away. I mean, she walked in the door her freshman year and says, "We're going to a Final Four." I mean, she said it in the media. She did not shy away from that. And she got everybody else to believe that we would do that. And she got the locker room to believe that. Not right away. I mean, again, it took some time.
Let me ask the tough one. Because even in the last couple of years, as I'm paying attention to the program, I could see her, it looked like she was having words with you, would have words with other players on the floor. She's the superstar of it, all the be-all, end of all everything. And if I were on the receiving end of that, I would find that very difficult to take. And somehow, you two and the people she played with said, "That's her."
Yeah.
Did we see that right, or help me understand?
No, that's true. I mean, her freshman year, she would pass the ball and it'd hit somebody in the head because they weren't ready for it. And then she'd get mad at them.
Yeah.
But that didn't help them. That hurt their confidence instead of boosted their confidence. And so we talked a lot about that. Like, your reaction to their mistakes affects them, which affects our team and our success and your success, what you're going to be able to accomplish. So she had to learn how to make people around her better. That's where she was a great leader by example. She could be a vocal leader. She wasn't a great leader at making people around her better.
In the beginning.
In the beginning. But she became that. But no, we would show her film of her antics,
I love that word.
We were in a scrimmage one time and we had these, guys come in and officiate the game and she mouthed off to them and they didn't do anything. So I blew the whistle from the sideline and gave her a technical and threw her out. So they were a little intimidated, I think, of her.
Could you not be?
But what we really, I thought, did a good job of is everybody understood that when her light shone, what would it be?
Was shining.
Was shining.
Helping verb.
Thank you.
No worries.
Journalism. It was shining on everybody. And, you know, we were all getting better. You know, it really, like, when she did well, we all did well. So, and they bought into that. And they also bought into, yeah, she can be a real jerk sometimes, but her heart is good. Her heart, you know, they got to know each other personally. When you get to know somebody personally, you get a little more lenience, right? Like, you know, you put so much in the bank account of, you know, how you treat somebody.
If she's not pouring herself into the karmic bank,
Right.
then they're going to let her die.
Right.
They don't care.
Yep.
But if she's investing in them as well,
Yes.
then there's going to be.
Yes, that was happening.
You and I had a conversation earlier today about accountability. Talk a little bit about building accountability in a team.
Yeah.
Because that is some really tough stuff.
It is hard, but any great team, they will be able to hold each other accountable. And we had to learn that. We did half an hour sessions on team building every single week throughout the whole, you know, every time we were in season. And so we really gave a lot of time to communication and goal setting and holding each other accountable. And we talked about, you know, if you really want to be great, if our team is really going to be great, I've got to hold you accountable.
Not me.
Well, I bet. I gotta hold you accountable.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing
And vice
something-
versa.
And vice versa. So,
But what if that hurts my feelings?
it can. And so we had to teach the players how to accept that accountability and how you take it. For example, like if I treat you, you know, tell you something and then you treat me like a jerk, I'm gonna have a hard time telling you and holding you accountable. That's gonna hurt our team from now on. So we talked a lot about when somebody has the courage to tell you something that's helping our team, you need to accept it. You need to learn from that and accept it. And that, you know, that takes a lot. For 18 to 22-year-old women, that takes a lot.
But I think it's also true in business.
Sure.
Right? I mean, some of that truth to power business that is like, can you really tell the boss? You know,
Yeah.
whatever. That's not a good business strategy, or maybe a superior.
Yeah. But these are peers,
Yeah.
you know? And so maybe...
So the food chain makes a difference, I guess.
Well, maybe,
Yeah.
but these were their peers, and it's still hard to hold your peers accountable.
Yeah. Right. I just have a couple more Caitlin questions along the way here. But did you know last March that last year was going to be your last season?
I did not. I did not know that. I've told that to my family is I wish I would have known that was my last game coaching in Carver. Or I wish I would have known that was my last game with my team.
Yeah.
I didn't know until May. My husband and I, we went on vacation and we were walking and hiking in Phoenix and talking about it and just kind of came to a conclusion that it was the right time to leave.
Wow. Regrets?
No.
About retirement?
No regrets of retirement. No, because, well, one thing is I think college athletics is a real mess right now. Division I, college athletics.
Not here.
Not here. No. I really don't like the way that it's going, and I did not ever want to be a professional coach. I wanted to be a collegiate coach, and it was changing into professional basketball, and I didn't like that. So it wasn't
The
for
whole
me.
NIL, the whole
Transfer portal, the pay for play. I didn't like it, and I didn't want to be a part of it. So to me, that was, you know, I didn't love that as much.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were at the top too. It's easier to go out at the top, right? I mean, in coaching, they say, you know, it's not when you're going to get fired, or if you're going to get fired, it's when you're going to get fired.
Right.
I got to leave on my terms. I got to leave while I still loved the game and I still loved the University of Iowa. And to me, like, that was worth so much.
And everybody loves you. I mean,
Well,
right?
they don't know me very much.
When you first started coaching, what were the crowds like at college?
Oh, at Carver. Well, Carver, they were a little better because I always, we were always in the top 20 in attendance.
Very
But I mean,
competitive.
there was probably, 25 to 3,000. We had some games that were more, but, around 3,000.
When did it change? When did it start to change?
It started to change with Megan. In about, what was that, 18 and 19, and Megan is doing so well, and we're hosting the NCAA tournament, and so those we would sell out. We were getting 15,000 people at the end of the year for those games. And then we had COVID. Can you imagine Caitlin Clark played in front of cardboard figures her freshman year?
Phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be in the building a year ago, but it would have been March,
Right.
when she made the shot that breaks the all-time record, the Logo 3.
Right.
And I thought, I'm standing at an Air Force base behind a giant jet plane. It was so loud.
Yeah, it was.
It was fantastic, right?
It was amazing.
Do you have the pinch yourself moments to like, we did this.
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it even happens, like right now, in the Final Four, this last Final Four, I didn't go to the Final Four. I watched from my house, and I'm like, we were there the last 2 years. We played in the national championship game. Like, I can't even believe it.
When you go to Carver now, there's Jan, your very good friend, your mentee, and you watch the games. What's that like for you?
Yeah, you can't help but watch it strategically. You don't just get to sit there and enjoy it like a fan, and cheer and stuff. You can't help it. So you're definitely in a different mindset when you're watching the games. But, now, when the buzzer sounds and the game is over, I get to go home. And I get to go to sleep.
This is really an important point, because you're coaching, even from St. Ambrose to Drake to the University of Iowa, you're a college basketball coach. Practice is over at whatever o'clock. You're still with team meetings, with coaches meetings, you're watching tape, you're doing this, you're calling out groups. It never seems, there's never enough time in the day to do all the things related to that job that you want to do. How important was that Dave Bluder in your life for you to be able to do the things you were?
Oh, my.
That's the guy. That's
Yeah.
right. Dave Bluder, right.
Well, first of all, he was the one that told me for $2,400 to take the job. So, he supported me back then. And then when we were at Drake, it was 97, we had our first child, Hannah, and we had a nanny for the first year. David was the vice president of West Bank at the time. And after a year, we were talking, and he said, I really think that, one of us needs to stay home with our children and help bring them up. And he said, I think that I can get back into my career easier than you could. And so he gave up his job and it was a stay-at-home dad. And that, 97,
And every great woman is another great person.
yeah, I couldn't have done it without him. There's no way.
Yeah, yeah,
Emotional support, and, as well as family support.
yeah. So you don't miss it. You don't miss the game.
I missed the practices. I missed it a little bit, like during the tournament time, because there is nothing as exhilarating as winning the conference championship or making it to a Final Four. There's just, nothing can compare to that.
Yeah.
And that you'll never have that again, that feels a little odd. But honestly, the day-to-day grind of it all, it is a grind. And like you say, you never get away from it because you get home and then you have dinner. Well, I got to make recruiting calls, and I just don't miss that at all.
Were you ambitious?
Yeah, I'm pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because you did the whole thing about the Midwest Nice and the call, and there's those of us who grow up in this part of the country.
Right.
like being overly ambitious or overtly ambitious is, people don't like that.
No, I was
No,
pretty
you never
ambitious.
frown on that. They just like,
Yeah.
no, don't do that.
But just, you don't want to tell anybody about it. You can do it, right? But you just don't tell anybody
It's
about it.
your own well-kept secret,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I like
It
that.
made me uncomfortable watching that video, actually. It did. It made me a little bit uncomfortable.
Serious. On what way?
Just, like, I don't know, I'd rather talk about you, Harry.
There's nothing to tell. I started college on academic probation. That's all I know for sure. Yeah. We can take this on the road. This is kind of fun. Can I just ask you to put your right hand out like that with this thing that's on your hand?
Well, this is in a Final Four ring, though, because Final Four rings are so ridiculously big, you cannot wear them. So this was from 2019. This was Megan's senior year, and no, it actually isn't. I'm sorry, it's not. It's from 3 years ago.
It's from 3 years ago. Just another cheesy, whatever it was, championship ring from 3 years ago. Right?
I've been blessed. Truly.
So, okay. This is in our culture now. You hear more conversations about gratitude.
Yeah.
That's going to get me to someplace first.
Okay.
You take that job, that first job, the $2,400 a year job,
Yeah.
and we've had people in this room who will graduate from here, they'll have amazing experiences in the theater and here singing and a cappella choir and all that cool stuff that we do. Should you follow the money or should you follow your heart?
In my opinion, we've always told our kids, work for the experience. When you're first starting out, don't take a job just because you want the money. Take the job because you want to learn, you want to get better. And I think that's what I did. I mean, I took that job not for the money, obviously, but I took it because I wanted to do that so badly, and it was an opportunity to learn. So we try to tell that to our children is don't take a position because it's just because of the title or whatever.
From your perspective, that adage, find something you love to do, find someone to pay you to do it, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's what that was for me, for sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. It's getting late. These kids have to study. It's a few minutes after 8. Do you have an actual comprehension of how much you mean to the people in this state?
I got to be at the University of Iowa for 24 years and represent this state and that university, and so I feel incredibly blessed to be able to do that.
But they love you.
What?
They love you.
I love that. And a place like the Central College, I love this this is what I love about college athletics.
Yeah.
Is places like this and people like this. This is what's special.
You gonna write a book?
I don't think so. Too much heavy lifting there.
I saw you heard you, or you did some Big Ten games,
Yeah.
right? You
Did
just
a little bit of it. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. So I think I'll do a little more of that.
Is it easier to do when you don't have any so-called less skin in the game?
I guess.
Yeah.
It is. But one of the games I did was the Iowa Hawkeye versus Ohio State game.
Right.
So that, I know,
Yeah.
it's right. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. There was a picture of you, I think it was after that game, having a beer at the stands.
Yeah, how about that? Okay, here's the night before. I'm not even working yet. I'm sitting up in the suite where nobody can see me. I'm in the second row, and I'm having a Bud Light. And the TV happened to catch it. And I thought I needed an NIL deal that week. I sold more Bud Light than the Clydesdales.
You have any final words of wisdom? No, okay, Iowa girl, Marion, Iowa, 6-on-6, plays your way onto a college basketball team, decide you're going to coach. I mean, the arc of this career is nothing short of remarkable. And then people have had careers like that, but the level of success that you had through that entire arc is extraordinary. It's nothing short of extraordinary. So the one word of wisdom, or, not plastics, but you have to be a certain age to appreciate that. Just a thought as we get ready to wrap things up.
There's so many things I feel like I could say. And one of the things I always tell my team is be where your feet are. And to me, that is so important, like just enjoying every minute. And even when we were on this last vacation, I said, Dave, I think now that I'm retired, I'm enjoying our vacation even more because I'm there.
You're present.
I'm present. I'm not thinking about, I got to get back and I got to do this. I got to, And so I think just being where you are, really, really being where you are. And I think it's so hard for young people now because of the phones. And I feel bad. I really feel bad for people growing up today that have the phones in their hands constantly and they're not totally present. And I feel bad for that. And then just having that spirit of gratitude, I think, is so important in all of us, and being kind. I mean, we need a little bit more kindness, in my opinion, in this world. And people said that, people told me so many times after the last 2 years that our team brought them joy. And to me, that was the biggest compliment, because I think if you can bring somebody else joy, that's what it's all about.
You know what? I'm just going to emphasize that for a second, because we've become so self-involved that we're carrying this backpack of crap on our shoulders, and that's a lot of times that's the first thing we bring in a room. That doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do the people you interact with any good.
Yeah.
And sometimes just leave the backpack in the car.
Amen.
And that's what I did. And I had to go back before we started so I could get my hat. Lisa Bluder.
Harry and Lisa, thank you. You've demonstrated for us this evening the power of a great story and a great storyteller coming together in one place and time. The narrative of human experience, with its many challenges and achievements, is the bedrock for learning. And we learned so much this evening. Please join me in thanking Harry and Lisa for stimulating. I invite you to remain in your seats as Carol Williamson, Special Advisor to the President, will provide directions for the conclusion of this evening's event. Carol.
All right, Lisa has agreed to do some autographs and photos for those of you that would like to do that. If you could remain in your seats for just a bit. She's going to be down here on the end of the stage. Those that are exiting, if you would make your way out or over to this aisle, and eventually we'll pull in those that want a picture or an autograph down this aisle. And somebody will be there to help you. So thank you again.
Tired, man. I've been working 3:30 this morning. seeing that one too.